Hey Mexico, this is Ito, known as Quadra and Save the Robot. Um, Hope you enjoy my podcast with beat controllers. Viva Mexico, cabrones.
Hola controles, bienvenidos a su podcast El After. El de hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial, Quadra. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
All good, man.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you for having time to be here in Los Angeles. That I come for a visit, and you have like time. I know that you live far from here, and well, here basically, Ido is like share your story, where you're from, where you're born and raised, and also what was your first approach into music that makes you like make the electronic music, and also have more details about your career, how you started as a DJ, as a producer, as of today.
Yeah,
So
sounds good. Thank you.
okay, so begin with the big Quadra story.
So I started making music after I heard. I went actually on a trip to Israel for like a summer trip,
Yeah.
and I heard like the early techno, house, trance, and I was like grew up in LA. I was listening to hip hop before that, and all of a sudden like this electronic music, and like, what is that? It really caught me, and then I had some like the year later, I had some friend that brought back some. He went to Israel for the summer, and he brought back some CDs with like astral projection and tip records. And when I heard this, I was like, "This is exactly the music I was waiting for." And that got me really interested in how to create these sounds, because I was like, why would anyone make musical instruments that sound like that? It was just like I had to discover why. And by chance, I had like a MIDI cable that you would have to hook up to your computer with the serial, and I had it from somebody's sound blaster that he bought. And he just was like, "Hey, you want this?" And I didn't know at the time what it was, but I took it. And then years later, I was like, "Oh, I have this cable. Let me try to hook it up, and see what happens." And then I had a really close friend that was like really pushing me. He's like, "You have to, like, this is your direction." And yeah, and it progressed from there.
And so when you go back into music and you like recall that you had that cable, uh, did you start like to making like some melodies or some track or something, or just
When I first got the cable, no, it was in my drawer for like 3 years. I never, it was like in a closet for 3 years. I didn't even know what to do with it. But only like once I heard, like when there was like a desire in me to discover how you make this, then I was like, okay, like let me take this seriously. Like I really want to know how this happens. Yeah. So then, and then, yeah, and then somehow I convinced my dad to buy me a Quadra synth, and it was like an Elysis synthesizer, and it had like 16 parts, so I was able to record 16 sounds at the same time. At the time, when you needed a big studio and a mixer and everything. So it was like this one keyboard that had like 16 channels, so I could make, like a whole track with drums and everything. And yeah, that's how I started.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, a long time ago when you can make music and almost everything now. Everything you can make music on the cell phone, on the iPad, on the computer, on AI. So
yeah.
yeah, times have changed. And what was like the first genre like you start making like Goa or more into the beginning of full on, or what was your
Yeah, Goa was definitely Goa. Like that was.
Goa?
Um,
And how long did it took for you, like, since you connect the cable and start making like you start with the first synth, the Quadra synth?
no, the first synth I had like a Yamaha like keyboard, with the small keys. It had the speakers. It
Oh,
had like all the sounds. It was the PSS 480 or 470, you know, I still remember.
Yeah, I don't recall. It's like a very old synth. So
Yeah. But it was interesting, like I was having fun with it, kind of like tweaking the voltage too. So I'd like reduce the voltage and then like just barely so it's still on, and I would like play something and just like turn down the voltage, and you would start making weird sounds. So I was like really fascinated with stuff like that. And then so and I got that one. I had that keyboard since I was like 12, I think. It was just like, because I was always like interested in music. I just didn't think I would ever make music. It was like not something I really like thought I'll be doing. But I was always like, I always had like a keyboard. Like I liked having something musical. And then, so once I discovered that cable, like I think the next year, my dad bought me that Quadra synth. And that's when, so from, let's say from the time that I bought the Quadra synth, it was like really fast. Like one of the first tracks that I actually made on the Quadra synth is like, all of the sudden now it's like really popular in Israel. Like it's all that stuff, that early stuff, like all of a sudden, like, so it was like just a few months. I was like a senior in high school.
wow.
And it's just like, yeah, I was just made tracks. I would like just in my room with the headphones, usually at night before getting up in the morning for school. And then, I would always be tired in the mornings at school. But all those tracks that I made, like, they're like, I still play them, you know?
Yeah. And I asked a question because, every career is different. Some started very early and they try to start making music, but it takes a lot of time because, this also about perfection. And you understand me as a producer, you make a track and then you, I don't know, wait like 2 days and you hear it again and you're like, no, it sounds like shit. And then, and then you start like, working on the track. But I think that at that time, you were like more excited or you were so happy to making music, you were launching, or you were too perfectionist on that time. How was that process?
The perfectionism, I mean, like I always had like the, like being a perfectionist, because I would always have like art classes in school and things like that. So I was always like a perfectionist. But at the time when I was making those tracks, they sounded perfect to me. Like it's exactly what I made them like in a day, like in 2 days.
Wow.
I made all those tracks. Like I was like, oh, there's like somebody called me to book me for a party. And I was like, okay, like for the weekend. And I'm like, okay, let me make a new track. So, to play for the weekend. And I was just like, while going to school, while having a job, somehow I managed to like make the tracks. And I was like, they sound perfect. Like I couldn't wait to go and play them. So, and then like after that, like when I matured a little bit, then it started being like, okay, like it was like the next level. And then I would like get stuck on tracks for like 2 months. I would like work on a track for 2 months and it's like not going anywhere. No, like I hear it, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, So I'm like, eventually it's like, it felt like a job, like working, like I was like, oh, I have to work on this track now. It feels like a job.
Yeah.
And then I told myself, you know what? I would like think about maybe starting a track from scratch. Like, forget it. Forget this one, make a new one. So, and that was like exciting for me. Like, I was like, oh, that sounds like not like a job. So I would just after 2 months of working on a track, I would like forget about it. And I have piles of tracks that, maybe some parts are good, maybe some are not. But I just let them go. I would start something fresh. And then, it was actually after the transition from MIDI, when your whole studio was run with MIDI, and, like I had no audio in the beginning, like there was no VSTs or anything like that. It was all MIDI, and it was being recorded to a DAT machine. Like I had like the D7 in the beginning. So I recorded to that. And then once it became like you had to do the, like the plugins, the audio, like that's when like the transition was like, that was like sort of like a barrier for me, I think it was because you have too many options. I think it was like kind of like getting used to having like no limitations really. I mean, you can like take a synth, you can record it, have it, record it again, record it again. In the beginning, it's like if you have one synth, that's all you can use, like you have one of them. So I think like getting used to having more was like kind of like made me always like kind of like second guess myself or the style.
Yeah, because you had options.
Yeah, it's like too many options, I think. Yeah. So, yeah.
And before naming Quadra, your project, did you have a name before, a DJ name or something?
No. I was still, I think, it was either when I was like in high school or right after high school, after high school, like somebody like right, like the first year after, somebody called me, he wants to book me for a party. And he's like, okay, what do you call yourself? And I was like, I didn't have a name. I never even thought about coming up with a name. So I was like looking around my room, and I still had the box, that the Quadra synth came in. And it was like the name, like Quadra, it was like black, and the synth was like in outline. And I saw that like the Quadra like stood out. So I'm like, you know what? Quadra, and I'm like, okay, after this party, I'm going to change it, like think of something else.
and 20 years after.
And then, because like I played that party, and then it's like, like that period, I was like playing like a lot, like just started playing a lot. And it was like within like a month, everybody was like, Quadra, like, a friend of mine was like, it's too late to change it now. So yeah, I'm like,
yeah, but it's a killer name. It's a very good name.
Yeah, I mean, it works. Yeah.
It works.
It works in every language, I notice. Like, it's easy for people to say Quadra.
Yeah. It's very good. English or Spanish or Hebrew or whatever. It sounds very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I always ask this question because some people think that all the names are very interesting and they have like a big background, but a lot of them is like, oh, I saw the name, it sounds good, or I formed the name and it sounds good. Because I ask this question and other people think that it has a lot of history, but maybe sometimes it sounds good, let's do it, and that's your name for years and years. So, okay, I'm so happy that you started with your name and playing a lot of parties, but they were local. Which one was your first international party?
First international. I think, the first international was actually Boom Record. The Boom Festival in 2004. That was the first international. Yeah.
And making you go back into your history.
Yeah. It was, I believe, 2004. Yeah, because like I stopped making music in, like 98, like at 98 I stopped. Like after I made like my first album, like I stopped making music. I went to school. I tried to make my parents happy, by going to school. So I just like completely, like I stopped listening to Goa. I was like, okay, like you need to control yourself. You need to be responsible. You need to like, study and get a job and all that. So I stopped for like a few years, and the scene, like the Goa scene, like I just like lost, because it was always small in LA. It's always been small, but it was really nice, like family, you know. It's like a lot of amazing people. But yeah, I just had to like, okay, like you need to but then yeah, and then by the time I started, I got back into psytrance, was 2002. In 2002. Yeah, 2001 maybe. Yeah, and maybe the end like of 2001, 2002, 2003. I was like, okay, like you really have to be, if you're gonna make music, you really have to be serious about it, and you have to like make a lot of more dedication, and like you have to sacrifice like more. You need to understand that you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot of things, that other people, like, they're gonna be having fun around you, but you're gonna have to, like, if this is what you want to do, you have to like be focused, and this is like what needs your attention. So I was like kind of like preparing myself, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was like, parties, no, I'm staying home. And I was like, because like once I'm in a routine of like waking up in the morning, going to the computer and starting to work, and like working 8, 10, 12 hours, you know, it's like once in, I mean, not, it's good. Like you know, it's like a routine.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I leave, you know, I go out, I come back in 4 in the morning, and then I wake up late, and then it's like, it breaks the whole routine. So I was like 2002, like 2003. Yeah, 2002 was like just, it was a lot of, I would say, blood, sweat, and tears. Like literally, I was like, remember, just, I couldn't get my sound to sound like everybody else. It's like, I listen to my track, I listen to theirs, this reference. And it's like, wow, you're so far away. Like, it's never going to happen for you. You know, it's like, so yeah. And I just like kept working. And that's when I was telling you, like, I would have to stop with tracks and start new ones. And then I would work on that one for another month, and I would stop and make a new one. And it was just like, it's never just like you should just stop and you just quit, because like, that's a bit like, you need to like wake up and be real with yourself, you know? And then, you know what? And then somehow, like, it's like, I was able to finish a track, and then I was able to like finish another one. And I was getting faster. Like, instead of a month, I would spend a week making a track. So, and then I started releasing them. So once I started releasing them, that got me like, kind of like, you know, more network with people in the industry, and I was like getting advice, you know, and so, yeah. And then like, I think 2004 is like when I played that Boom, and then, yeah. And then at the end of 2004, I went to Japan, like, to play there.
Killer.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. After like, I mean, yeah, I should tell you, like, my plan, like, I was like, when I left my house, I had to like worry about myself, and, you know, I was like, okay, my plan is this. I'm going to make 4 tracks and send them to like 5 labels, and everything is going to be okay, you know, like, that's going to be okay. Which was really naive of me to think like that, but somehow, like, they got back to me, the labels got back to me, and one of the labels was Solstice Music in Japan. And they're like, oh, we like this track. So, like, I was most interested in them, so I was really happy that they took the track for a compilation. And then they asked me like, can you make, we're doing another one, can you make another track? So I made another one. Then they asked me, oh, hey, do you want to make an album for us? So I was still going to school at the time. And when they said that, I told my, like, I had a test at school and like one of the finals. And I was like, okay, you're going to be responsible. You're going to show up on time. Like, you can't mess, you're almost at the end. I had like one more semester. So I went and the parking situation was really bad. Like I showed up early and I'm like looking for parking. There's no parking. And then finally I found a parking. Somebody stole it. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't need this. I was so mad. I showed up on time and I'm still like, I was already late. The test started. Like, I'm like, you know what? Forget school. I don't like, why do I need school? Like, this is like, who's gonna ask me what school you want for making trance music, So I'm like, I should probably concentrate on making that album more than the school. So that's what I did. I stopped school. Like, that's when I stopped school. And then I was like, I worked on that album, and then the album was released, I think around November. Like maybe October, November 2004. And then they booked me for a tip tour in Japan, going from Osaka to Tokyo with Raja Ram, Alien Project, Lucas, Brahma was there, like the whole tip, crew.
All the tip records, all the tip gang.
Yeah. So that's when I met all of them. And that's how I met Ari Linker. And so that party in Japan was like a huge like turning point. And then I started releasing on tape. So that was like, that personal connection like was really good.
Yeah, because you met very amazing people. I had the opportunity to talk with Ari and Alien Project podcast, Spaghetti, and it was like very, very good. And then what happened? Then you go back to school again to finish the degree, or?
No, I never went back. Like, yeah, because like after I played that first party in Japan, like things like happened fast, it's like I always had like a booking like to look forward to like in a few weeks. So it's like, and from then I think for a couple years, it's like every 2-3 months I was in Japan playing parties. Yeah, and I had all sorts of like gigs in like Mexico, South America, like Chile. Yeah, so yeah, just music, what I was doing and the next party, and I was always in the habit of I need to finish a new track before I play the next party. It's always been like my, it's kind of like too motivating, it's like kind of like you put a deadline to yourself, so you kind of like get motivated to finish stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and what was the reaction for your parents? Because you separated from music because you were telling yourself, I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to give a degree to my parents, and you were on that way, and then you had like the final exam and you were like, no shit, I'm not going this anymore.
Yeah.
What was that approach to your parents? Like, I quit school.
No, I mean, they've never been happy about that, I mean, yeah. I mean, by the end, I was already like, I changed my major. I started off with, I changed majors like so many times. And then finally I was like, okay, engineering, I can see myself working as an engineer, it's like, it's almost like making music. You're there, coding or something. But eventually I changed it to music because just, I don't know, like, yeah, music was the thing that always like, to ignore music for me, it's like, I just can't listen to anything. Like, just listening to music, it's just like, music just like pulls me back. it doesn't matter what kind of music. Like if I like it, it's like always pulls me. So yeah.
I fully understand.
So it's like, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's like, yeah, I can listen to my parents and I'm probably never going to be happy and I'm always going to regret, you know? Yeah, so, and I wasn't living at their house, so, you know, but yeah, yeah, like, I mean, yeah, my dad is just, you know, it's like he's never been supportive of my music, like never. But yeah, but I don't blame him, you know. You know, he doesn't understand this music and he wants his son to succeed and, you know, have a normal life, have a family, kids, this like old school way of thinking of how you're supposed to be happy. And it's just, yeah, it was just never like,
Yeah, we don't blame them because the generation was different on back on the old days. For us, we were like the first ones to change this. Now, it's normal to make content creation, to make music, videos, movies, independent. So we are part of the transition to that generation.
yeah.
So if we have kids, I'm going to understand if they have a camera and they're making music or a video edition or podcasting or whatever, because it's normal. Back in the old days, it was not. The correct way of doing things is go to school, find a girlfriend, marry, have kids,
Yeah.
and transition. So, but now, but also life is more complex right now. It's more complicated. We're more so. Yeah, and when you find your passion, that is music and all this world, it's a job basically, but it's a different kind of job.
Yeah.
You are always working.
Yeah.
You don't go to office 9 to 5 and then you go home. You wake up in the morning, you have interviews, or you're making music, or bookings, or talking, or studying for new VSTs and new integrations and new sounds and new synths and new
Yeah.
DAWs and changes. Now with the AI, like how Serum is working right now, how Logic or Cubase or FL, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the same, but different. Your office, but well, right now it's more since the 2020 thing that happened. People started like more normal to work at home. So
Yeah.
yeah, I fully understand. And how to Save the Robot started?
Yeah. So like I said, I met Ari in Japan and he was, I remember, I landed in Japan and they took me straight to the venue to do a sound check. And I remember like I walk in and I see Ari, like I'm like, oh my God, it's Alien Project. And I was always like very, very shy. I'm still very shy, but like meeting people like, you know, like that I respect, I'm like always like kind of nervous, you know, shy. And I remember, but he came, he's like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. You want to drink something? And like, I just felt like really comfortable with him, like from the beginning. And I remember like we walked back to the hotel after the sound check. He's like, you know, just get ready and come to my room, hang out before we go to the party. Alien Project invited me to his room. Like, wow, I have to go, you know. I was like, yeah. So I remember like, and I remember I was in his room, we're like chatting, and like I just felt like felt really comfortable. Like it's like I felt like it's an old friend, you know. And then I remember like he showed me how to like where to go in Japan, how to get around, use the, you know, the trains and everything. It was like 10 days that we spent there.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I came back and he made a remix to one of my tracks and I remixed one of his tracks. And that's how like we started working together. And then like he got me a booking in Israel. So I flew there. and we started. We made like we sat in studio together, made a track. The first track we made, and then yeah, and then he got me booked in Brazil. Like he pushed me to play in Brazil. So I started seeing him more and more, and then eventually, like, I was in Israel at the time, and all of a sudden, like, Tip, like they had a Rich from Tip had an idea. It's like, why don't you guys come up with a new project and make an album for us? So, yeah, so of course, Ari came up with a name. He's like, we're like thinking of a name. Ari's like, how about Save the Robot? I'm like, Save the Robot. I'm like, wow, I actually really like it. So yeah, that's how that started. And then like we made it, we like spent time to make the album. And yeah, that was a really fun like experience, like working with them, like in the beginning of us working together in the studio. It was like just a lot of fun, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, that's a nice story. Yeah, I told Ari that I remember it was 2010 or 2011 when you launched the first album. I remember that somebody from Israel, I don't remember who, sent it to me. Like, hey, you need to listen to this new album. And I hear the music and the tracks, and I was like, wow, who are these guys? Who is a producer? Because back in the old days, it was not that easy as to find who is every project. And I remember that the first album, it was like punchy and melodic, and it was like, wow, this is an amazing album, an amazing album. And then for me, it's like awesome, as you tell when you met Ari, that but now a lot of years, like I had Ari in the podcast, and now I have you, like that is like when I was a lot of 15 years or 14 years ago, listening on my car that Save the Robot tracks, and now I know the history of the project. So it's a fantasy of the music world.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then I remember. I know more or less the story because Ari told us. You made the first album, and how was that? Like approach for you, or a different experience, because it's very different when you're working yourself and now you're working with somebody and someone that you admire. How was that for you? Like that first album of Save the Robot process and working with Ari.
It was amazing. I had so much fun, you know? Like I learned a lot from him too. Like he showed me like a different way of working than I was used to. Like he has like a way of kind of like speeding things up. Like, you know, it's not like, okay, let me take a month, create sounds and, you know, and recreate like every sound, like everything in the track. Like I felt like I need to create from scratch, you know? And I learned like also like arrangement and things like that. Like he made me like pay attention to things, you know, like details that I just didn't really, didn't think, you know, just didn't think of this approach before. And I mean, it was fun just to hang out, you know, and like, just like seeing things on the internet together, just making jokes and, you know, so going to parties, coming back with inspiration, like things like that. So yeah, it was just like it was a really fun process. And it was like quick too. It was like, didn't take us that long. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I'm very glad that you had their experience, because Alien Project is from the start of the scene, so for the sci-fi, and so like working with such a legend and such a great guy.
I have to tell you a story.
Okay,
like
sure.
In 2001, I remember when I started listening to, I was like, oh, I should listen to like, because I stopped listening, like I said, to trance for a couple years. And I was like, you know what? I should listen. Like, what's the state of trance? Like, I just haven't heard it. And I remember I went to Mexico for spring break with some friends.
To Cancun?
No, I was San Felipe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so before I went to a store and bought like just I saw there's a new compilation from Tip. Oh, let me grab this one, of course. So we were in Mexico, and I remember like listening to it, and the first track was Midnight Sun.
Oof. Killer track.
Like that was like the first track I heard like back, and I was like, wow, what is it? Like I was like blown away. I was like, it's like hearing trance for the first time again, And I remember I was like, what is this? Like, who is this guy? And I remember like looking at the CD, and I was like looking at the credits, and I saw Ari Linker. And I'm like, I need to find this Ari Linker, And yeah, so yeah, like it's funny how it like turned out,
Yeah. Then you're a friend from him, and you make music with him. Yeah. I think that all of us people that goes into this world, like you start in a room in your parents' house making music, and then you will never imagine that if you put effort and a lot of work, you're going to meet your inspiration, and you're going to meet the world. So you have been in Israel, you have been in Japan, you have been in Brazil, you have been in, well, Mexico is very close from Los Angeles, but going to Japan,
yeah,
going to Brazil.
Yeah, in the beginning, I didn't think about, I mean, when I started making this music, I didn't even know that there are raves and people play this music at parties. I was like, in high school, like 17, 18, I was like, I didn't know that there's like these parties, I thought you just make music to listen to. So it's like, I didn't even know that you could be a DJ and play this music. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, it's amazing to be able to like meet new people from different countries and sing. It's like, it makes you better as a person, because it's like you think about people, and you kind of generalize, and then it's like once you go and you meet the people and from different cultures, then it's like you start to understand that the people are not the problem, it's the governments that are making the problems, but it's a different perspective,
Yeah, you receive a lot of you learn about a lot of perspectives and countries and people, and yeah, but I think it's a very good door to the world.
Yeah,
the music.
Yeah.
If I didn't make music or production or podcast, maybe I would only knew some parts of Mexico, some parts of USA, and maybe Europe, but just the traveling history. But with music, you have the opportunity to meet the Russian people, Jewish people, American people, Japanese people, Brazilian people.
Yeah.
You like learn the story and how they started and all the different perspectives. But at the end, the goal is the same: like make what you love, that is music, and share it to the world.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Save the Robot. I remember the two albums, and it also stopped Save the Robot for a lot of years. What happened on that internship between launching the albums and then the pause? Did you continue with Quadra, or how was that time?
Yeah, for some personal reasons, I was a little bit burned out and I had to stop. And yeah, I was just like, I wasn't happy. And I wasn't happy where I was, like where I was living. And like, it didn't feel like my place exactly at the time. And yeah, I just felt like I need to change my life.
Okay.
And to kind of understand, like, yeah, to understand exactly what I want, really. And I had another friend in the States that needed help musically. Like I was like, okay, let me work with him, and seeing, like, let me go with that and seeing where it leads. Um, yeah, but yeah, just like stop for a while, help other people with their projects, like while I'm like kind of like trying to figure out um, what I want to do. Like I was kind of like, I didn't even know what genre of music I really wanted to make, So I just like, okay, sometimes like if you're not sure, it's better to like stop and look around and try to, than instead of just like going and not thinking about it. So I just like stopped, I just like never, I always told myself like as long as I have talent, I should be okay. Like if I change, like I should be okay, So I trusted that. Um, and it led to like really amazing things, like meeting friends, and it's like it was a nice detour, and I had some nice jobs, and then I remember one day I was kind of like, okay, now I need to stop and rethink because I wasn't happy again. I was like, unless I play my music in front of people, I'm not going to be happy. Like I was missing that. Like I didn't realize how much I liked the connection with the crowd and playing for people. And it's kind of like you kind of understand where you're going because you see people's reaction. Okay, so this track, okay, so why is this track getting attention? So it helps you kind of narrow down, like get your sound, more in the direction,
Yeah.
And I was missing that. I was like, okay, I'm in a studio all day just making music, and it's just like I'm not gonna be happy with this life. Like just always being in a studio and making music. Yeah, I love it, but the connection with the people was like missing for me.
Yeah.
Like being in front of people. So that's when I stopped again, and I was like, okay, like when were you happy? Like let's go back to when you were last like happy. And I'm like, the psytrance scene was just amazing. Like I was meeting like amazing people, playing amazing parties, and just the vibe. And it's like, it's psychedelic trance. It's something I truly believe in, like the whole, like the whole, like, I guess the idyllic, like ideal, what psytrance music represents, like being more conscious and, like being more aware, it's like all these samples, from the beginning about awareness, consciousness, all that. It was like really like compelling for me, like it was, so, I was like, I was happy, like this, like that was my place, I was like, that was my place. Like these were my people, these were my friends, And I'm like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? Regret? Like, and not, and I'm like, you know what? I was like thinking about like making trance. I don't know, it's just sounded really exciting for me again. And it was exciting. Like I remember like when I got back to making the trance again, psytrance, I couldn't stop. I was just like, it's like just working, like sleeping, waking up, and running to the computer and continuing. Like, so, yeah, that's how I came back to psytrance.
Yeah, no, and I think it's good in this career and in any career. As we stated before, it's a job. So making music is a job, but and it's a passion. But this doesn't mean that it's not a job. So you keep like working. And sometimes you need to go a little bit back, see what you're doing rest a little bit, and then go back more strong.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also the music is scene and the music business is very different. It's changing constantly. This year something is hype, next year it's something different, and sometimes adapt to that new vibe. Maybe it's not yours. If they say that psytrance, goodbye, and trap is well the new king, you're like, oh, I don't like that too much. I don't like the vibe of trap. Maybe I like full on, or I like melodic techno, I like psytrance, or like whatever progressive.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know because you have a lot of fans for Quadra, you have a lot of fans for Save the Robot, and just to share your point of view and your history about what happened during those years before you go back. And now you feel better, like going back to parties and going to Mexico again and making music. How was that return? You really enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. Like I remember like from the first gig, it's like, yeah, this is like this is my place, you know, like, and it's not like, and that was like also like a big thing for me because I was like, I took a step back and then there's like so many different new genres of music that I truly love, you know. I love techno, I love house, like I really do. And, but it was like, it was kind of like another, so when I was kind of like thinking of where I should go, I was also taking account the people, the parties, what it represents, you know, what the scene itself represents, you know. If it's represents just commercial, no thought, just, you know, I go to parties and at the end of the party you look and there's trash everywhere. It's like, is this where you want to play? Like, this is the scene for you? And I was like, no, it's not. Like, I was like, you know, the parties in nature with like beautiful people, like, you know, like carrying, I felt like it was in a psytrance, you know, like it was such a unique community of people. And, you know, it's like always like people that are, they think deeper, you know, it's like they think deeper about life, you know, and it's like that's always like, you know, like attracted me, you know, like, so yeah, so it was like I was really asking myself, like, what kind of parties do you want to play? Like, which scene do you want to be a part of? You know, that's like really resonates with who you are as a person, you know, like, so you don't, so it's not a job. It's, you know, like it's not, oh, I only go to this, you know, I go to clubs because I play, you know, I play techno, I go to clubs, but it's like, you know, if you go to a club and it's like, it's not, it was just not the same experience for me as going to like an outdoor trance party, you know, it was just like a whole different experience. And I just felt like I belong, you know, with the trans people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the vibe, the trans people. Yeah, with the scene, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like,
And the people you meet, you know, it's like you meet like friends, like actual friends, you know, that think like you and, you know, I find interesting.
yeah. And we go back to the wizardry of the music that you have friends now all over the world. You made great people. Yeah, I'm so grateful about being in this world because telling people that I can go to some country, like I can go to Israel and I have friends over there. I can go to Brazil and I have friends over there.
Yeah.
That maybe in school or in any other place you will not. Maybe yes, in every country you have more. Like in Los Angeles, you have a lot of people from all over the world, and it happens. But there are different cities like mine that there are foreign people, but not that much. And maybe you have like, I remember some friend in high school, but now it's like you see stories of your friends like, I see Alien Project playing here, and I see Giuseppe playing there, and I see like, and they're actually friends, and I'm so happy that I have met a lot of people that have that same passion for making music and making dance the world. So yeah, I'm glad that you go back because you make very good music as Quadra and Save the Robot. And when Ari told me that there were new albums and new music on the way, I was like, wow, because I remember 15 years ago, 14 years ago when I listened to the first album, the proposal, it was like amazing. And it's good. I think that the music changes, but it never left the like the vibe or the scene
Yeah.
or the scent.
Yeah. Thank you.
And what is coming for you for this year and the next years? What are you working on?
So in the past couple of years, I started playing Goa again, you know, basically those tracks I was telling you from, you know, from the first couple of years that I was making music.
Yeah.
And at first I was like really like play these tracks. I mean, they sound really bad on the system. It's like, how could like, I would be never actually, it's like it was like practice, you know, like these tracks, I just started like, I didn't really, you know, I didn't consider myself like I knew what I was doing, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I would never even play these tracks in my later years. I would never like play these tracks for people. But then all of a sudden I started getting booked to play. And so first it took me a while, but then I started playing and seeing the reaction was I just completely unexpected. So in the past 6 months, I started opening, luckily I kept the projects. So I just started opening those, you know, retrieving those old files and reworking, making new mixes of those old tracks.
Wow.
And yeah, so I don't remember last time I had so much fun making music. Then opening those old projects, you know, and remembering how limited I was, and all of a sudden, like you know, it's like, okay, now you have all this, you know, all this equipment, you know,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with it now? So that process is being just super fun for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're living in a time for remasterings and remixes. People like the nostalgia, so maybe you make a 2025 edit from a very popular track like from 15 years ago. People are going to receive it again because, for example, Ari played Midnight Sun like a new version on last year. People was like crazy.
Yeah.
So now you have the opportunity and the liberty to make like the new mixes.
Yeah.
Quadra, the new mixes and tracks from long time ago. If you still have the music sessions, you can go back and people are going to receive it pretty good and pretty well because I think right now we're in the nostalgia era. So
yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. And yeah, so it's just like, and yeah, and it's just been a fun, really fun process of like taking those old tracks and then it's like, okay, like now how do you want it to sound? Because like you can make a psytrance bass line, or you can change, you know, it's like what kind of bass, like a psytrance kick maybe, you know, but so it was a fun process of like discovering what that sound is, you know, like how is that track sounding new in 2025? Yeah, so.
Oh, that's nice. And first, you're planning to launch something this year? A surprise, a new track, a new release?
New releases, yeah, for sure, for sure. I don't have a date yet. Like I would tell you if I did. Nothing secret. Hopefully very soon. Like, yeah. I mean, I just like, took me about. I mean, I started this like in June. We're in February now, so I started in June, and I just like finally mixed down the first two like last week.
Wow.
So, and sent them out. So it's, yeah, it's just like finally, it just took me a while. How is this going to sound in 2025 without taking away, like, because people, I seen my sets that I play, like people, like the old tracks, like people know, like I see the people, I can see it on them. They know everything about like every little sound, like they know, you know? So for these people, if I play the same track, a new mix on this track, and something sounds out of place, it's like the magic disappears. Like that's how I hear it, because I know the track too. So it's like I hear it. And if the sound is not hitting exactly like that place, you know, like as the original, that's it. The magic disappears. The track doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like for me, you know, it's just like it kills it. So it took me 6 months of like trial and error, you know, trying different things, to get it right to what I think, you know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because it needs to be a remake or a remix, but you need to keep like the original elements.
It needs to like to have the same vibe as the original. Needs to take you that same place, like, and it's like when there's a sound that you know, there's a sound that comes in, you know, right after. It's like if it comes in with a different sound, it's like that wasn't it, you know. It's it took me somewhere a little bit different.
No, yeah. People fully understand, since as we know in music, you're telling a story, so you need to tell the same story back in the day.
Yeah,
but it's just with the modern words, with another sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I will be close and happy to share when you launch your new music. Which is your social media where people can follow you, where you are more active?
Instagram, Quadra_music, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the thumbnails here. Thumbnails.
Yeah. Quadra_music.
Yes. You're more active on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And also something new for Save the Robot?
Saved Robot. I mean, I don't know if like Saved Robot is now a techno project.
Yeah.
Like we switched it over to techno a few years. Yeah, so there's new releases for that for sure. We have a track coming out on March 16 on Frog Records. It's labeled by Gila Liberté. Yeah, so we have that coming out, and then some more stuff. Yeah,
It's good.
so there's definitely stuff on that end too.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm happy that Save the Robot is back. It still has the same punch and the same vibe, just different BPM, but it's very great.
Yeah.
Well, Aido, I want to thank you for sharing your experience, sharing your history.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, I know. You're welcome, and I hope I can see you again in Mexico, in Brazil, Los Angeles, and any other part of the world. Maybe in Israel, we can eat a shawarma together. You never know.
Yeah.
But well, I want to let me change to Spanish to invite everybody to follow you, and thank you again for your time, my friend.
Thank you very much.
A todos los que vieron escucharon este podcast, sigan a Quadra y Save the Robot en todas sus redes sociales. Aquí se los comparto como siempre. Denle like y compartan para que esto siga creciendo, y nos vemos en el próximo capítulo. Hasta luego.